So I don't tell nobody on here where I work. When I have jobs, I don't disclose where I work after I either leave or find a better job or something goes wrong. I don't tell my employees where I work because even though I don't claim allegiance to any ideology, some people may falsely believe that I'm like a right wing conservative when I'm not because I don't stand with anybody. I stand alone. I'm definitely not left wing. So there are some things that I feel I'm liberal on, and there are some things I feel I'm right wing. I'm conservative on. But I just know a lot of the things I believe would piss him off. And what people do now when you don't like what somebody has to say, they either go for your job, they go for your they try to fuck up your livelihood. And I don't care how much I don't agree with somebody. And let me tell you what I mean by this. Antifa, don't agree with nothing they have to say. Don't care for them. Anti ICE protesters, don't really agree with them. I see where they're coming from just a little bit. Like I can understand, yeah, people that have been working, that have been living here 30, 40 years, don't feel like they should. Like I said, there are some things I agree with, some things I don't agree with. Don't feel like they should be thrown away if they're contributing to this country. Yeah, I understand the breaking the law. Do I feel that they should be thrown like back to a dangerous environment that they were trying to get away from? No, I think that's messed up. I do have a heart. I understand they're breaking the law, but if you've been here for like 30, 40 years, it's like when I was homeless. Even though I was technically breaking the law, I was squatting. Well, not squatting, but I was trespassing. I was on somebody else's property. I was still contributing to these the taxes. I was working, but I was breaking the law at the same time. I refuse to just be one sided. But at the same time, this is why I feel like most of them are full of shit. If you ask them today, hey, would you mind letting one stay at your house? They'll say yeah, but they don't really mean that. They'll make it like they care, but they don't give a shit. They don't care about the because when you hear the word ICE, the first thing you think of are, let's just say, Central and South Americans. But we understand that because they're the face of illegal immigration. But I believe the Chinese, they come here, they overstay their visas longer than South and Central Americans do. But we let it slide because their contributions. See, you have to contribute. This is what I was trying to explain to the guy. If you go to another country, you need a purpose and you have to contribute. You can't just work. You can't just work a menial job because that defeats the whole purpose of letting all these people in, because those jobs can go to low level skilled Americans. But I understand too, big businesses, they wanna save money. If they could pay Pedro and Maria $9, $10 doing the same job that Tyrone and Shaniqua does. Those are just names I'm just picking out of the head. But if they could pay these people less money, yeah, I understand where they're coming from. This is why they're against the raids. Like, they're losing money. It's all because they don't genuinely care about these people. Everything at the end of the day, it all revolves around money, and also exploitation of children and women. Because you don't think for a fact that they're just doing this because they care so much about families being broken up. I believe 100% that most of these children and women, and sometimes men, are being sexually exploited, trafficked, etc. I don't think that in no way most of them genuinely care about people, having somewhere to stay. Because this is what I don't understand. So the people voted for this. I didn't vote, but the people voted for this. The people were tired of it was like 41 million when Joe Biden was president that were coming here. So now that they're actually doing something about it, now you got a problem with it, and you wanna. And I don't know too much about the female. I read a little bit about her, the one that was shot like last week. I know she was married to a man, and then she was married to a woman. I'm gonna do a little research on her, and then I may do a video on her next. But I'm gonna just tell you like this: nobody out here gives a damn about anybody. So don't try to tell me you're here because you feel that you're trying to speak up for this so-called marginalized group. Like I said, I'm looking at it both sides, like both ways. I don't agree. If you contribute here in a positive way, 30, 40 years, you have an education, you learned the language, you pay your taxes, you've been here. Like I just think if you've been here this long, you should have been working on becoming a like a permanent citizen here. I just think you've been here 30, 40 years. Unless you are like a wanted criminal, you should have worked on trying to like get your legal documents processed. I just think if I lived in Spain for like 30, 40 years, you best believe I would be a citizen within 5 years. I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna learn the language. I'm gonna learn the culture. You've been here this long and you're still not a citizen, but I don't agree with the innocent being arrested. I understand that they broke the law. This is why I'm not a one-sided dude. I look at it both sides. But at the same time, we can't just have all these people here and they're not producing anything. They're because understand when Joe Biden was president, every week you heard a story because they weren't even calling them illegals. They were calling them migrants. They were robbing people, raping people, stabbing people, killing people. And where were they going? Black communities. Mostly because when I wasn't here, they were here, Chicago, New York, mostly, Los Angeles. But I kind of lost track of the video. What I was trying to say was I wouldn't reveal to him this channel, and I wouldn't tell you guys where I work at because people are losing their jobs. I'm a pretty good worker, but people lose their jobs respecting the things they say, their beliefs, and mostly it leans to the right. I'm not right wing at all, but some of the things I've said over the years, yeah, it's cost me a lot. It's got me in trouble. And this is what I want to bring up to him when I see him tomorrow. Because I would just assume, I'll make the assumption that he supports DEI. DEI means diversity, equity, inclusion. And I don't think he I don't think he's racist. I don't like to throw that word around. I've worked around people that are racist. I've worked around people that don't care for black people, and they have the right. This is the thing about me. They have the right to feel the way they do because, like I said, not being one-sided, I understand where they're coming from. Do I want to hold hands and sing "Kumbaya" with these people? Hell no. But you got to look at their point of view. That's how you grow, learning what this person thinks. This show called Hate Love Thy Neighbor, Hate Thy Neighbor. Please watch that show because that's sort of what my channel revolves around. He looks at it both sides. He interviews white races, black races, and I mean hateful. When I say racist, it sounds like I'm saying like categories of people based on skin color. But if you really if DEI, if you want to talk about the word inclusion, including everybody, why can't we include, and excuse me for this epithet, but the Karens, and I don't want to see. I don't particularly care working around racist people. Don't want to really work around them. But how will you ever grow and learn if you just write them off as racist? Because I learned a lot from white supremacists. I learned a lot from listening to the alt right. Now, with that being said, I don't want to hang around these people. Don't want to eat dinner. Don't want to grab a drink with them at the bar. But I've learned from looking at their way of thinking, like, yeah, that makes sense too. You know, some of my talking points come from listening to the alt right and the so-called racists. I'm not denying that it doesn't exist. Racism does exist. There are people in this world that, because it's an ambiguous word, it's people that believe that they're better than other groups. There are people who don't, in the other meaning, where you just don't like another group based on experience, culture, um, what you're taught to think and believe. Look, it's fine with me. Now, I don't I don't want to hang around these people, but I learned from talking, from listening to them, that yeah, this is why they feel the way about us, because of this. Now, just writing them off, because if you can listen, because like I said, DEI is basically having a marginalized group of people, at least in America, giving them a voice, giving them an opportunity. But how do we? But here's the thing: that only flies in America and probably Canada too, and in the UK. That doesn't fly anywhere else. And I'm gonna say this again: DEI, white guilt, um, all that affirmative action and the whole consideration of reparations only applies here, nowhere else. You can't. That doesn't fly in South America. It sure as hell doesn't fly in countries like China and any Asian country. That doesn't fly anywhere else. Because I was telling him that they're 10 times as worse relating to if we want to talk about racially insensitive people. I think Asians are the most racially insensitive people on this earth. They're worse. They could be worse than what they say white people are when it comes to racial insensitivity. They could be worse. Look at some of the commercials they depict this in. They had a commercial where this black dude, this African dude, was inside of a washing machine, and he came out as an Asian man. So what I'm saying is this: let's look at their point of view as well. Instead of firing them from their jobs, instead of um, posting videos like the Karens and the self-proclaimed racists, the ones that are proud to be racist. You're not going to learn from them if you just shut them down. If you try to silence them, if you like the chick, I'm trying to think her name, Laura Loomer. She's been banned from like Uber Eats and DoorDash. She's not allowed on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You're not going to learn by just shutting them up. Do I agree with her on some things? Yeah. Do I disagree with her on some things? Yeah. Do I agree with everything with Antifa and anti-ICE protesters? It's not a lot of things I agree with them on, but I don't believe in shutting them up. That's their First Amendment right. Yeah, I think they're full of shit, but I don't want to deprive them of their right to work. I don't want to deprive them of their constitutional right to assemble and protest and speak their mind. You know, I'm not going to learn by just writing them off. But it's mostly the right wing that suffer the most. Talking like me, this is what gets you fired. And like I said, I haven't been fired from jobs, but I've been in hostile environments based on a lot of the things that I believe and think. So I feel like thinking like me, you hold a greater risk than being more towards the left.